Hey there, boils and ghouls. Welcome to another episode of Halloweekly. Nick and George here with special guest Alex Taylor to continue our run through the Halloween series, doing a standalone episode of Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. And luckily, there will be no Silver Shamrock commercials in this podcast, so your head won't get turned into a portal for snakes and insects and bugs. Enjoy. So we started going through all of the Halloween series. And what's funny is when we talked about it, we were like, we should probably wait until Halloween, but Halloween season's already started.
Yeah, especially
totally
in Los Angeles, it's already on. Like,
every shop I look at, like they finally got rid of all the back to school shit, and the Halloween stuff's coming up, and I'm like, God damn it.
I was at Ralph's today just buying some like frozen chicken, and for some reason, I don't know why, the cards are in the same aisle as the frozen stuff. Right behind
Makes
it.
sense.
And the Halloween cards are out now, so I was pretty excited.
That
is a messed up combination. What is that store run by like Silver Shamrock?
I think so.
I love looking at all the Halloween stuff, like especially like Day of the Dead stuff. Like, oh my God, any of that. If it's orange, smells like a mocha frappa crappa pumpkin spice latte. I'm like, yes.
Mix all over it.
Let's get that going. In fact, we just did a live a little while ago where we had the live stream of Halloween decorations, and part of me was like, well, I guess I could probably like set a few things out.
It's time.
Start decorating.
Dude, I would have done it.
We had also talked going into this about doing kind of chunks of Halloween sequels, like maybe 3, 4, 5, and then maybe like whatever. But after rewatching 3, we were like, this has to be its own episode.
Yeah, it's its own standalone thing, and it's also had like a weird, like we were just talking before we hit record, like reputation online, where like because we have the Wikipedia page up, and it's acknowledging the fact that over the past couple of decades, it's now its own standalone, or it's its own like cult classic. Film. So whenever people have threads of like, what's the worst entry of a franchise film? It used to be this, but now it's like, well, Halloween 3 is actually really good. We're like, we get it. We all agree. What I was saying, though...
I don't know that we all agree.
I was saying,
this film is pretty divisive on our Facebook page still.
Well, here's what I think would be really funny is if for like 3 decades, it had to like punch its way up to like be this great film, and then it gets so popular, it's so cool, people just start
There's
to
like
shit
a backlash.
people shit on it. It just goes right back
I see
down.
that happening. I actually read a really interesting thing that said that the thing that screwed over Halloween 3 was Halloween 2. And I thought it was interesting that they put it like that, because they were like, John Carpenter never wanted... It's funny because a lot of the major horror directors, they have no interest in franchises at first. Like, Wes Craven didn't want to do another Nightmare on Elm Street after the first one. John Carpenter didn't want to do another Halloween after the first one. And he turned down for, doing the Halloween 2. And he wanted the anthology idea, if anything, was going to go forward from the start. But they got Halloween 2 made, and that cemented the idea that it was a Michael Myers franchise, which meant that Halloween 3 was always due. You know what I mean? And after, if this could have been the follow-up to the original, and they just did anthologies after that, the idea might have stood a chance.
Yeah.
I still like the... Oh, go ahead, Alex.
I was going to say, I think Tommy Lee Wallace said something along the lines of that the best thing about the movie is also the curse of the movie. This movie would not have been made if it were called Halloween, if it were not called Halloween 3, but because it's called Halloween 3, it was critically panned and hated when it first came out.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, I think a lot of that, some of this is really slapdash. Like, I don't think they really thought through some of the... from what I heard, Tommy Lee picked Season of the Witch as a subtitle because it was the name of a song he liked.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't even think Season of the Witch really does anything for this movie.
No, I was wondering that when we...
Right. So, like, it's Halloween 3, it's not really a follow-up to Halloween, and Season of the Witch, it's not really about witches. Like, the title's a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
Right? So...
Yeah. So I'm looking at the cover, like even on the poster, there's like this weird face in the background in the sky, and I'm like, that still has absolutely nothing to do with the movie. Just
Totally.
zip.
But I'm excited to dive into this movie because I think this movie starts with one of the best themes and music-wise, and then one of the best openings of any horror movie ever. I love the way this movie opens.
Are you talking about that sick ass computer screen pumpkin? Because that was my first. That was my first note.
Well, no, I'm talking about the music that comes up with it. The graphics obviously have dated.
Yeah, right, dude. That's like 8K television.
I liked it. It was kind of charming. I liked the opening.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it. It's of its time. You know?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
But this movie. So first of all, I wasn't paying attention when I fired this thing up, and I heard like this ominous Carpenter-esque music, and I turn around and I see a guy running down the road, and I see headlights come up, and I'm
Christine.
like, shit, yeah, I fired up Christine. I've got the wrong movie on. It starts like the same way, and I'm telling you, like John Carpenter directed or produced movies. They shoot headlights better than anyone in the history of movies. Like you can tell a John Carpenter headlight or produced headlight shot. It looks just like Christine. It's a fucking amazing.
Second to Coen Brothers.
Second
No
to
Country.
Coen
No
Brothers.
Country.
Yeah, No Country for Old Men. That's a great. Absolutely.
I was wondering because during the intro or during the credit sequence, we were talking about that you were saying John Carpenter and the other guy who wrote it wanted their names off of the written by by credit, and I thought that was which I totally I was wondering is it really that bad that they wanted it taken off? But then I was like, for someone who didn't want his name on the written by credits, his name's in pretty much every other every other credit. Like scrub me from written by, but produced, music, everything else is fine.
Yep.
Written. No, wouldn't be caught dead.
Yeah, the guy Tommy Lee's the only writing credit, and he did the least writing of anyone on this movie, which is kind of ironic. Right?
Yeah. Well, I was wondering because after that cool intro that you were talking about with the car and headlights, I was like, what's so badly written about it? And then the guy who gets chased down just randomly falls into that gas station and goes, "They're gonna kill everyone." And they just says something that just passes the fuck out, and I go, "Oh, that's why."
That's why they're taking
we whack shit like that.
Yeah, but I mean, I honestly, that was a creepy. Really, I love the way he kind of fought back. It's Ellie Grimbridge's dad. I love the way he fought back by getting the car to crush.
Oh yeah, pulling the
one
chain.
of the assassins, and I really liked the fact that when you see him running in the distance, it looked like he'd been shot in the gut, like his intestines were hanging out or something. And then you realize he's just hanging onto a dumb Halloween mask.
Yeah.
But when you look from afar, you see a figure running with some orange shit flopping, and you're like, wait, what the hell?
I want zero to do with that.
You know what's going on. And that whole sequence is kind of creepy. To me, anyway.
Yeah. No, I as weird as it was for him just to pass out from exhaustion or whatever the fuck it was, or fright. I thought that was a little whack. But I was wondering if I don't think they meant anything by it, or maybe they did. But the fact that it was Saturday the 23rd, for some reason I was like, is that supposed to be a knock at Friday the 13th, 10 days after, 10 days after?
No,
the
it's
day,
setting up the legendary 8 more days to Halloween.
Oh, that awesome theme.
Of course.
Yeah, let's just get this out of the way, because that theme plays, I think, 14 times.
Not enough.
In this movie.
Not enough.
I was humming it. I mean, I think everyone's supposed to hum it after
Well,
you watch the movie.
I actually read that it was the commercials for Silver Shamrock were shot in a way that was intended to be on a large screen, and they're more effective when you see them in a theater than when you see it on a small screen. And I don't know how it was shot that makes it that way, but they said that if you see it on a big screen, those commercials mess with your mind a lot more than if you're catching it just on a small TV. And the music is just instantly. They used London Bridge because it was public domain.
Oh, yeah. They're running out of time to write anything. I think Deborah Hill was the one who suggested that they just use a public domain track just to move it along quickly.
But it's a great choice.
Yeah.
That song is you can tell when we talk about the end of the movie, I think there's a really meta moment with the commercial, but we'll get to that, because the next thing is you go to the hospital. and that's where you meet like a lot of the upcoming characters. And Tom Atkins. Let's talk about Tom Atkins.
I wrote down his name as Todd the Fuck Machine Atkins.
I think it was great that they centered this movie on like a non-teenager.
Yeah.
And, like this guy is just a really, I mean, he's like first of all, he's a straight up like alcoholic. Like there's so many moments in this movie where Ellie's like, let's go investigate this. He's like, I need a drink.
Or he's on the phone, and then before he leaves the payphone, like grabs a 6-pack of some shit and takes off.
So he's kind of a mess, but he's still pretty effective.
He's a highly functioning alcoholic.
Yeah, he's a alcoholic who manages to possibly save the world.
Yeah.
So that's
almost.
That maybe we'll talk about that ending. But so we meet Ellie there, and then I think to me, like I thought the first assassination scene where Ellie's father gets killed was brutal. That's where he crushes his skull through his eye.
They tease you for a second though. Because he goes up to the guy in the bed, but then he holds up his fist, and I was like, "Is he just going to beat the shit out of him?"
Right.
Beat the shit out of him. But then they pull like a 28 weeks later, or 20 weeks later, pulled a Halloween 3, with gouging eyes. That always makes me fucking cringe. Though.
Yeah, and the thing so what's really weird here is Nick and I just reviewed Zombie 2. Yeah. With the legendary scene with the eye getting impaled by like the splinter or wood splinter. But the thing about that scene is, as great as that scene is, it's a great scene. She keeps her eye open the entire time heading towards that thing, which is like feels a little implausible. And in this scene, the robot holds his fist up and then brings his 2 fingers out, and the old guy closes his eyes like right away. He's like, "Oh shit!
I ain't looking at this.
I'm not gonna watch this go down." Yeah. and then it's a pretty brutal like kill scene, and then one of the things I really like is you get one of those classic Halloween franchise shots with the people running through hospital corridors.
Yeah,
and the woman who's playing the nurse, she super sells it. She seemed so rattled and freaked out by this murder, and then Tom Atkins runs out and then watches the guy who killed the guy in the hospital bed get in his car, pour gasoline over himself, and then immolate himself, which is really creative.
Yeah,
right. Like you don't expect that as a
no, not at all.
Right. So I don't know. I just thought that was a really with the music, and I thought that was a great.
Now, was that? I know Dick Warlock. He played one of the main assassins. Did he play that guy? Dick Warlock's the guy who played Michael Myers in Halloween 2. George, I think he was your favorite.
Yes, he was, and I don't remember which. I don't remember. It could have been that guy. I don't remember which one he played.
Because I can't remember what his face looks like, but I know he played one of them, and it's kind of cool to realize that Halloween 3 is directed by one of the guys who basically played Michael Myers in the first movie. And then Michael Myers from the second movie is in it.
Yeah, and Jamie Lee Curtis is sort of in it too.
Halloween is in it.
Which is super cool.
That was my next note. Is after they deal with the police and he meets Ellie, he goes to the bar and there's that stupid cartoon. He goes, "Hey, can we change this shit?" And then he goes, "The Halloween classic, the new classic Halloween." I love that shit.
That was amazing. And then he's like, he needs they cut to the Silver Shamrock. It goes to the Silver Shamrock commercial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's like, "Screw this," and then they turn it to football. Like, they're just like, it's over. I can't do this anymore.
What do you think of the relationship between Tom Atkins' character and Ellie?
Alex, what'd you think?
Strange, in the sense that they met. She was mourning her father, and then she decided to go on a road trip with like a horny drunk old man. And then they end up banging, and there's clearly like a 30-year difference between the two.
Yeah, she actually says that in the movie.
Yeah, that's
she
odd.
actually he goes I'll sleep in the car or whatever. She's like, "Where do you want to sleep?"
Yeah,
and then later on she goes, "Relax, I'm a lot older than I look."
Oh, okay, good. At least they threw that in there just to give some of us with a soul peace of mind. Then again, I don't know. I'd kind of good for her for sleeping with Tom Atkins.
I actually really liked I don't think their relationship had a lot of emotional resonance, but I liked it was off. I liked that it was a little weird. I liked that her character is my favorite character in the movie.
Yeah.
I liked that her character was a little off and a little weird, but it really reminded me of what was going on in the original The Fog. Like it just seemed like when Jamie Lee Curtis is hitchhiking, whatever. It seemed like these people didn't have a lot of boundaries between bad shit happening in the world and wanting to get it on.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? I feel like that's like John Carpenter-esque thing,
Yeah.
But I liked, the whole movie is about killer Irish robot maniacs. So like,
why not?
Everything should be off.
Yeah.
if you're gonna do that, like it shouldn't be like a typical relationship. But I kind of dug it. I thought they were edgy in a way.
Yeah. And then after they knock boots because fuck it, why not? Her dad's dead and he's off his rocker. That's when you hear Jamie Lee Curtis's voice.
Yeah. So they travel to the Silver Shamrock town, and they're trying to figure out what happened to Ellie's dad, and they're retracing his steps. And the town has this weird 6 o'clock curfew, and they announce it over over loudspeakers. Yeah. And they also, by the way, have surveillance cameras everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And then they announce it. And one of the things I really give this movie credit for is, because a lot of horror movies drop the ball on this, is the anytime there's some kind of voiceover that's supposed to be ominous, it actually is ominous. Jamie Lee Curtis comes on and announces the curfew, and she sounds super fucking creepy. As a matter of fact, she modulated her voice, or they did somehow, where I didn't even recognize it was her until I read that it was her. Mm-hmm. But like when she comes on and she goes, it's 6 o'clock curfew, please confine your activities to your homes. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
That's a really weird thing.
My favorite part about the curfew was they even brought in the outdoor cat. They're like, it's the curfew, man.
I know that
this
was
goes
awesome.
For everyone.
No one is safe. Even
all living
cats.
beings must go. Yeah, exactly. But her voice sounds authentically creepy. And when the final commercial rolls at the end, they change the chant from, Halloween's here, and then it goes, all the lucky kids with the masks, it's a giveaway time, get around your TV and watch. And the way the guy says it is super creepy. So this movie nails like voiceover creepiness.
Oh, yeah. The voiceover, that's actually the director. That's Tommy Lee Wallace who does the commercials. He's the voice in the commercials.
No wonder he got it right.
He's like, we know the tone.
He knows exactly what he's going.
Fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So now the curfew is
and then we meet the town drunk.
Yes, and that was probably my second favorite kill.
He's my favorite character.
He just kind of what he say is like, can I have a sip of that? I'm clean. Like, yeah, that's my biggest concern right now, is I'm gonna get herpes from a hobo.
Yeah, and he's the one who lets Atkins in on the idea that he's being watched at all times in the town. Mm-hmm. And he actually, Conal Cochran, the main villain in this movie, who presides over this town, like he's kind of like an evil god, who like lord over the town, like whatever. And the drunk guy literally shouts into the air, "Fuck you, Cochran!" like in the middle of standing in nowhere, or whatever. But like Cochran hears it, right? Because he dies like literally minutes later. So you're definitely being surveilled in this fucking place.
Yeah, the note I had after that was when they killed him. I liked the kill, but it was also framed a little strange. I said I liked how the robots were like really like straight. They were basically like Michael Myers without a mask, because they just never spoke and they just kind of went to go kill things.
Yep.
So I liked how they were straight faced, and I like how they just ripped his head off.
Yep.
The only issue is it cuts back to like sort of like a long shot, where like you see all of them, and it looks like the hobo's just blowing the robots before pulling his head off. I was like, that's a little strange, but whatever. He's dead now. Rest in peace, dude.
Actually, one of the things I really liked about, so I think one of the flaws of this movie is that there's no threat to the viewer, right? Like in Halloween movies, Michael Myers, if he shows up in your town, there's a chance that you're gonna die, like whatever. Right?
Yeah.
But in this movie, the threat is you're not gonna turn this movie off, and then it's midnight and you got to go take your dog outside and now you're afraid to go outside because you're afraid of killer Irish robots. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
Right?
that's very true. That's a good
There's
point.
no threat to the viewer in the way that there is in like the rest of the franchise movies, at least potentially. So I feel like that's a weakness of it. But one of the things I liked about it was the fact that the robots kill people the way that would make sense to robots. So like they would tear your head off, like because they just figure you're detachable.
Yeah.
Right? There's another scene where they just dismantle someone with a drill, which is like a typical robot. Yeah, that's like a robot way to kill someone. You know what I mean? Like they're literally dismantling people, which makes sense to robots. I feel like they have their own like murder ethic.
Yeah.
Like we're not going to shoot you. We're going to take you apart because,
Yeah, you take us apart, we stop working. We take you apart, you stop working.
Exactly.
One to
it's
one.
like they thought it through in a weird sort of way.
That makes sense.
Which I thought I liked.
Well, what's great is after the hobo sucking robot dick scene, we're treated with another sex scene between
Yes.
Tom Atkins and I just imagine like that fucking meeting where they're like, all right, so they already banged once. What else should they do in the town? I don't know, fuck again. And what should they do after they fuck? Fuck for a third time.
Why not?
Absolutely.
He actually turns to her at one moment and goes, "Aren't you tired?" She's like, "No."
It's like, how you got stamina for this shit, Ellie?
whatever. But then we're treated to the people who are arriving at the hotel.
Oh,
Yes.
To pick up masks. So the world's most annoying family. Like this is literally the family from like one of those Pixar movies. I forget which one where they blow up the pyramids or something. But this
Incredibles?
family. I don't remember which one. But there's just this horrible typical family with like the guy's name's Buddy. His son's obviously Buddy Jr. because of course he would be, right? And then there's one lone woman who is about to die who arrives, and she's like their next door neighbor.
Oh, yeah.
And she's the one who discovers this silver Shemlock, whatever that
Chip.
thing is.
Yeah,
Chip.
it's like a
like she pokes at it with like fucking tweezers or something, and then it like lasers her in the face, and her face melts and starts pouring out bugs and snakes. What do you guys think of the bug snake result from the mask going off?
It did not make sense to me, but it was quite horrifying, especially that one. That practical effect to me still frightens the hell out of me. The one of the woman getting her like shocked, lasered in the hotel.
Yep. Yeah, it's really gross.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty fucking disgusting. That was like, because I don't get grossed out by like a lot of effects. That's a lie. There's a lot of shit that grosses me out, but that one really fucking grossed me out. I don't like watching like bugs crawl into like holes in people's faces. Get that shit out. Get that shit out of here.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense to me. So it was bothering me the whole movie because I felt like what Roger Ebert's main complaint about this movie, he hated this movie. It's on his most hated list.
Yeah.
One of his main complaints about the movie is that he was like, I literally can't tell what the villain's trying to accomplish. I don't know what his plan is.
No, that's
right.
Yeah.
And it's weird because there's like a very James Bond-esque moment towards the end of this movie where Cochran takes Atkins on a tour through the plant and explains what's going to happen with the masks and Halloween and the song and the commercial, whatever. But in James Bond, when the villains explain to you what they're going to do, they also explain what's going to happen. Like, I'm going to do this, and then I'll control all the gold, and then I'll do this. In this one, he's like, I'm going to do this, and then fuck everybody.
there was no I'm going to kill you, Mr. Bond.
Right, there was no second half of the plan.
Yeah, there was no why.
Right?
It's just like what he was doing.
Well, I mean, it was sort of to bring witchcraft back into the world, and kind of there was like this druid-esque like sacrifice children,
It's
but
Stonehenge in
but
there
it didn't.
at some point.
It did not explain why the masks devolve people into snakes or bugs. It didn't explain none of that was explained. But it took me out of the movie. But then, not to skip ahead to the end unnecessarily, but I realized in a later scene when you see characters trapped in a room and the mask goes off, the bugs and snakes start to kill the other characters trapped in the room.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. So then I felt like, well, maybe that's a brilliant part of how this plan works. Because even if you only get some of the kids' masks to go off, you will unleash killer bugs and snakes on the world in mass, right?
Yeah.
To start spreading chaos. So maybe, I don't know, but I didn't get the plan.
Yeah, I'm just reading it here. Somehow, a fragment of Stonehenge activated by commercial
Yes.
will then summon. So where are they getting summoned from? That's the thing I don't understand. If I'm going to summon something, do I just create a portal like the Amazon and just drop some fucking snakes?
I don't know. I mean, let's be honest here. They also absconded with a 5-ton Stonehenge stone in the middle of the night somehow, and shipped it to wherever the fuck this is.
Well, they are robots. Maybe they're really strong.
They are pretty strong. But that's
but
fine.
They're also pretty weak.
They're pretty strong. I just want to remind you that the Stonehenge rock is in England, and this is set in America. So
false.
I don't care how
robots are weak. He punched it right through its goddamn belly and pulled out some wires.
Well, that's true. They also bleed. They bleed orange juice. So I don't know.
That was gross.
Yeah, that was pretty gross. But,
all
right. Anyway, we digress because I skipped ahead. But I mean, there is obviously a lot of continuity problems with this movie that no one would admit to writing credit for. Anyway,
So after we get that steamy sex scene,
yes,
the 2-rounder, we go to the mask factory.
Yes,
which I actually kind of liked that scene a little bit, just because it had a very well. That makes sense.
I love the mask factory
because you mentioned that the guy who wanted to be discredited wanted to be because he's more of a sci-fi guy and he didn't like the violence. That part is like the super sci-fi part of the film.
Nigel Keane's a great author, and you can totally. I mean, I think he wanted his name taken off this because he said it was too violent. I think. Don't quote me on that. But the thing is, you're right. This whole sequence is very science, and one of the little touches I like. So first of all, let's give credit to the guy who plays the villain. O'Hurley, because the guy who plays Cochran, because he is so good. This is the bad guy. This is the bad guy from RoboCop series, by the way. And he is so good at this kind of character, right? So he's just really good. But there's this great sequence when he comes out and schmoozes the family he's about to kill, because the husband in the annoying family, is the top salesman of silver shamrock masks.
Yeah.
In America. So he gives him the VIP tour of the plant, and he actually introduces him to the staff. He's like, here's our top salesman. So the funny thing is, that means he's responsible for more deaths than anyone else because he sold the most masks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is a really cool thing you don't figure out until you figure out what's actually happening. But this guy, this oblivious dumbass, is like the one most responsible for the spreading of terror in America than anyone else. But I like the whole schmoozing ethic, like part of it, because he's like, we got to treat this guy great. He's our top. He's about to end the world, and he's still like CEOing it.
It's like Vladimir Putin, the situation,
which was really cool. But he's basically luring him into a trap because they're going to test the mask on his son, which is one of my favorite moments in the movie.
Oh yeah.
But first they get a tour which Atkins and Ellie piggyback on, so they get to see the factory. They get to see there's a place you're not allowed to go, and then she sees that her dead father's car is in storage behind the factory.
Yeah.
And she freaks out and she tries to get to the car and she gets screened out by a bunch of sinister looking robots, which is a cool scene. And it's one of the few scenes in the movie where I actually thought the robots were pretty scary instead of a little bit
There's
dumb.
one other scene I thought they were scary towards the end.
And then I think at that point, no, we don't. The family doesn't die yet, right?
No.
Oh yeah.
So I think after that, don't they go back to the family dies? I think family dies, but then they go back to the hotel.
Yes.
And then that's when they attack the other people, because that was the shot I thought when the robots go to the apartment.
Yes.
I thought that shot was really fucking cool.
Yeah, you're right. That sequence was really cool. And the thing is, so Tom Atkins does the typical horror movie dumb thing. Ellie says, "Don't leave me alone," and he goes, "I'll be gone just a minute. I'm just going to go call the police." He goes to call the police. He gets Jamie Lee Curtis again, who's saying, "I can't connect your call." And then he comes back to the room, and now Ellie's gone because, of course, she would be, because you left her alone. You fucking idiot! Like,
why
you
didn't
went
she
back
go
to the
with them?
hotel where, right? Yeah.
Well, she had to get ready for another banging session.
She's like, "I'm gonna get mine while we're on this trip."
Yeah.
Best theory I've heard so far.
I know.
For why that happened, Alex. But then we get the great scene where they test the commercial on the family. And this was such a cool, it was almost like a David Lynchian moment, because they put him in like a typical suburban family room, living room setting with like fake fruit on the table and like cheesy lamps and then like a TV. And by the way, the kids sitting in front of the TVs during this movie with masks on is fucking creepy. The way they look is creepy. They're just like sitting there with their brains dying in front of TV with like these dumb masks on. Like it's, I don't know. The way it's shot was like super creepy to me. But there's this weird moment where they roll the commercial, and it's not 2 more days to Halloween, 1 more day to Halloween. Now it's the commercial. It's gather around, kids. It's Halloween, and the salesman goes, "This is the same shit they've been doing." Like he thinks he's part of like a focus group. Like the bad guy was like, we want your opinion on this, right? So his son puts on a mask and sits in front of the TV. He's sitting on the couch with his wife, like typical American family, and then they roll a commercial. And he's like, This is dumb. And then the wife is like, "It's all dumb. Look at this table. Is this a joke?" She's like, "These aren't even real grapes." She's like, "Ah ha, ha." Meanwhile, her son's head is like imploding with like bugs and snakes, and they're completely oblivious to the fact it's happening. That has got to be some kind of metaphorical indictment of like family TV American. There's something really hostile in this movie.
Also, he never gave them feedback on the commercial. So how could he be the top salesman?
No, he does not.
Clearly,
because he gets killed by a fucking snake.
Still, this top salesman would have at least left a death note.
No, he definitely does not.
Very effective.
So then Chalice Atkins' character, he escapes briefly. Then he finds one of the oldest robots, which was a really Westworld moment.
That was the creepiest robot of all, because it looked like
totally
what I'm assuming they did. It was just, like a fake head, obviously, but then like those are actual someone's hands because the way they're moving. That was fucking creepy as shit.
That was super creepy.
That was the part that's the only thing that sort of made me a little unsettled. But then it's met with the just another jump scare and.
Right. Well, then the other robots come in, they recapture him.
Yeah.
And then I think one of the best scenes in the movie is the kind of XBow villain, James Bond XBow dump that happens. But what makes it so great is, first of all, the villain is great. They tie Atkins to a chair in front of a TV, and he goes, "Enjoy your Halloween," and pops a mask on his head, which he knows what's going to happen to him. Right? Yeah. And then he tells him what he's sort of doing, not really, and then he leaves. And there's this really desolate moment with this guy just sitting tied to a chair with this dumb mask on his head in front of a TV, and his head's about to explode into like bugs and snakes or whatever. And it's a really empty shot. Like he's really alone. It's a really dark room, and he's in a really desperate straits. He's going to get out because he's fuck Machine Atkins, like no problem. But
he's got a bunch more banging to do.
Right, but it's a great shot. Yeah. Like it's a really that whole sequence.
Dean Cundy shot it again. He did 1, 2, and 3.
Oh shit!
Yeah, same guy did Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, Big Trouble in Little China, Hook, and the classic Adam Sandler's Jack and Jill.
Wow.
He'll do anything. That's awesome. Well, he did it.
The best part of that film, probably.
He did a damn good job. So he kicks the TV in, which is another David Lynch style moment. Like David Lynch loves breaking TVs, and he gets out of his.
Well, before
he
was watching Halloween again. So that was a part that I actually really liked about it. That scene is, it's kind of silent, but then. Music from the original Halloween kicked in, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool!" Like they're repurposing, that piece of music from the film. But then it cuts and it's on TV, and I was like, "Oh, that transition awesome. With the music was really fucking cool."
That was awesome. That was,
and then he kicks the TV in because he's like, "Fuck it, this will never be Halloween 1."
And then he gets out, and then he frees Ellie, which is going to lead us to where my head explodes because it's where I get really mad at this movie. But he frees Ellie. And then they have to sabotage this airing of the commercial.
Yeah.
So they do this ridiculous sneak behind a rack of masks on wheels moment.
Oh yeah.
Did you notice one of the masks in the background was Lon Chaney's Phantom?
No.
Yeah, there was one of those.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I was like, man, I wish they would have did that mask. Other than that stupid fucking like skull. Actually, the skull is pretty cool.
Yeah, I actually like the masks in it. I mean, no kid wants to wear a pumpkin mask. That's not real. But
that's actually the one. That's the only one they created for the movie.
Yeah, the other two exist, right? Because this was a Don Post.
Yeah, actually, the factory. Yeah, the factory was actually a Don Post mask factory, and it was that Don Post. He also did the mask for Halloween 4, which is the one that I wore for Halloween when I was a child. When I would have gotten my brain melted.
That's pretty fun. Cool. I did think the skull mask looked like the bad guys in the beginning of Batman Returns.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
Absolutely. That's so.
I was like, those are.
I kept looking around in the factory and all, like, just to see if like they would hide a Michael Myers mask. And that's another thing I also have to admit about Halloween 3. When I was a child, we started watching it. My dad, and my older sister, and Michael Myers didn't show up, so we just fucking turned it off. So this, aside from all of the other movies, I saw this one like when I was much older, like fairly recently.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. That's cool though. I like that that. Well, I mean, it's got a comeback quality.
The closest thing to Michael Myers I think you see is during the trick or treating montage.
I love that montage. Actually, that really worked.
I think the kid, because they actually do Dayton, Ohio, which is
shout out.
I think there's a kid in a clown suit. I'll have to double check. There's a kid in a clown suit, and it looks like the clown suit, very similar, maybe to the original where he kills his sister. So I think that's the closest you might get.
I heard that the footage in the movie of when they're getting the tour of the plant and they're making the masks, which is actually in Don Post's factory, was shot while they were making merchandise masks. Oh. So it's possible if you have a mask from this with the merchandising of this movie that it was made. That you watched it being made in the movie.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of masks that were actually turned out during the filming of it. Like you were watching them make the masks for the merchandising.
That's cool.
Oh,
so you might have a mask that was made during the Halloween 3, which
like
I think is
screen act. Well, that's awesome. Now I need to hunt.
I think it's pretty cool.
Okay, so the people they have like that James Bond or GoldenEye thing.
Totally.
They're sneaking around.
They're sneaking around, and then they come up with a brilliant plan. Props to Fuck Machine. He launches. He inexplicably figures out the world's worst computer with buttons that have no labels. He knows exactly what to punch somehow, and then he launches the TV commercial early. Then he climbs up above the ring of robots running everything. And while they're looking around trying to figure out what's happening and the villain's looking around, they dump a box of silver shamrock pins onto all the robots. And they all get zapped the way the woman in the hotel did. Except for instead of bugs and like whatever, because they're not wearing masks, they just short circuit or die. I think some of them are in lab coats. So they might actually be humans and not robots.
Yeah.
It seemed like they were a mix of people that were getting killed there. But they all fall down in a perfect concentric ring, which is... convenient. Shout out to Stonehenge. And then the villain Cochran looks up and spots Ellie and Atkins and does like a golf clap.
Yeah.
Like he applauds them, like he's proud of them. Like good move. Like you took down my whole plot with like a box of pins. Like,
and in his mind, he thinks, so that's why they call you Fuck Machine.
Exactly. And then a beam comes out of the Stonehenge rock, which, by the way, if you rewatch this, it's got to be one of the saddest things in the movie to me is like this defaced Stonehenge rock. Like there's all these little chipped holes out of it because they were like getting chips to put in the fucking buttons.
Getting chips to put in the chips.
Exactly. So like it's just like this defaced like rock. Like it's like looking at Mount Rushmore with like, you know, the president's head's like nose is knocked off or something. And then this ray comes out of the rock, hits the villain, connects to the ring, and then he melts away with a smile on his face, which is super
It looked like he was wrapped in aluminum foil.
It totally did. And victory, I mean, sort of victory, because they killed the people, and now Ellie and Tom Atkins get to escape.
Or do they?
And now, the thing that makes me want to find everybody involved with this movie and punch them directly in their face.
So you have to punch fuck Machine and John Carpenter.
Yeah, maybe it's a bad plan. Not advisable.
Yeah, don't punch Tom Atkins.
But Ellie turns out to
he will fuck your fist.
They switched her. Yeah, they switched her, and now she's a killer robot. So she attacks Tom Atkins in the car, and then the car crashes into a tree. And then he manages to knock her head off, but in like Westworld fashion, she keeps coming at him.
Yeah.
And then she gets attacked by her hand, which is that Ed
Evil
Wood
Dead?
fighting the octopus moment. Oh yeah,
it was like Evil Dead / Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah,
mix.
Yep, totally. Like
but without
a super
the
strong
humor.
hand. Yeah, well, no, I was laughing my ass off. So
unintentionally.
I feel like there was some humor involved. And then there's actually a really cool shot of Ellie on the ground with her head separated, looking around, and the body over here and like whatever. And I wanted to, at this moment, I wanted to point out that there's a great quote from Roger Ebert who said, a saving grace in Halloween 3 is Stacey Nelkin. She's the one who plays Ellie.
Yeah.
She has one of those rich voices that makes you wish she had more to say. But watch her, too, in the reaction shots. When she's not talking, she's listening. Not many actresses actually listen. She has a kind of rapt yet humorous attention I thought was really fetching. Too bad she plays her last scene without a head. Score one for Ebert, because that's pretty fucking cool. But I totally agree. I thought she really did a great job in the part. But it turned out she was a robot. Now, hard stop. Fuck you, movie. This is the worst. This is the all caps worst.
Yeah.
She's a great character and you killed her, but what's really bad about this is if you rewind, Atkins finds her and springs her way back earlier in the movie. So he gets her out, and then they do the entire go around the factory, skulk around, try to figure out a way to stop this whole plot, find the box of buttons, avoid the robots that are hunting you down, and then kill everybody who's trying to make this thing happen. And she's helping him the entire time.
So you're wondering when the switch happened?
I know when the switch. There's the only possibility when the switch happened is the switch happened when he was sitting in the chair with the mask on his face, you're kicking the TV. Yeah. Everything after that, immediately after he escapes, he frees her. She's strapped to a table and he frees her. There's no other place a switch could happen. There's no other reason they're never out of each other's sight from that moment until the time she attacks him in the car. They're together the entire time. Mm-hmm. That's when the switch happened. So she's a robot who helped him destroy everything that has to do with the plot, thwart the entire villainous plot, get in the car with him, and then decide to kill him.
Oh yeah, it's a little bit of a plot hole.
It's the worst. It's the worst, and they got rid of like such a great character. And there's a lot of people online who were like in the fan fiction or whatever fuck the people do online. They're like, she's still alive because we never see the real her die. We just see the robot, right? So did he actually kill her, or is she still alive, or who knows? What her? We don't see her die.
Yeah, an off-screen death is always the least dignified way to go in a horror movie.
Oh, I hate everything to do with this part because she was my favorite character, and to have her go out like that. And I get that they wanted like the cheap robot twist jump scare, and I get that they wanted to have the cool scenes where he knocks her head off and she's got like wires coming out or whatever. But fuck this movie for not bothering to even make that like plausible, unless there's something I missed where a switch came later. But I swear to God, as soon as he escapes, all the rest of their time in the factory is trying to thwart this plot. And even if you switched later, like to what end? Like, why would the villain? Why would he like the only reason to switch a character like the human for the robot is that she could help you thwart the catch Atkins again.
Yeah.
Like, if your plan is, even if he kills all of us, I'm going to get him in his car. What the fuck kind of plan is that?
Just a fail-safe. I don't know.
She was trying to compute, like, do I kill the fucking machine or do I let him live?
It's diatribe over. It's the word. It just bothered me so much.
No, that's a valid complaint. I didn't even consider that. Yeah.
But then the movie really sort of saves itself because it moves to a really great end scene that I liked a lot, where he rushes to make a phone call. By the way, earlier in the movie, there's a great scene where, because his ex-wife doesn't trust him for shit, right? Like, because he's had sex with everyone in this movie.
He's had sex with the whole town.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Like, he's like flirting with all of the doctors. I think the first scene where they introduce him, he like smacks the nurse on the ass.
Yeah,
a totally different nurse that we never see again after that scene.
And I was telling Nick, there's like all these innuendos where like he'll say something. He's like, "I need you to investigate like this some guy named Cochran. Will you run a report for me?" She's like, "I love running reports with you." You're like, "What? Like, what's happening?" Like, everyone's using these weird analogies with him, and it's just like, but so his ex-wife does not trust him. And there's a great moment. I actually love that this got a callback. When he shows up at his family's house, he's brought the kids presents. And the presents are 2 incredibly lame Halloween masks. And when he hands them to the kids, they're opening up, unwrapping them, and they go, "Oh." They're like, "We already got silver shamrock masks." And they pull their silver shamrock masks out, and they start singing 8 More Days to Halloween. And they throw their dad's masks aside. Now, if they loved their dad's masks, they wouldn't die on Halloween. So lesson to you, kids. Trust your dad's mask, even if they look lame. But whatever. So he calls her later once he's figured out everything that's happening, and he's like, "Get the kids to take off the masks." And she's like, "You're just jealous of my mask. They didn't like your mask." And he's like, "No, it's going to blow their heads up." She's like, "You're drunk." Just like and she hangs up on him. like so his kids are going to die because his ex-wife does not trust him or shit, right?
But he won the argument.
Which is all that matters.
He gets to hold that over his ex-wife's head for the rest of his days.
Assuming that she didn't get bit by a snake or something.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so we get to this great end scene where he makes it somewhere, I forget where he's at exactly, and then he places a call to like the national TV authorities or whatever, and he goes, "You got to take these commercials off the air. You got to take them off the air." And then, you know,
they're like, "If you say so."
No. They don't. They go. He goes, "No. He's like, you got to believe me." He's like, "No, I don't have any proof. You just have to believe me." And then because he's Tom Atkins, they're like, "Sure." So then they start taking the commercial down. But this is a great end sequence where he's watching the commercial play. He's watching, kids with the masks, like whatever, and then the commercial speeding up because the music gets faster as it's about to kill everybody.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it comes and goes, "We're having technical difficulties," and they take the commercial down. And you think he's won, but then he flips the channel and the commercial's playing on the next channel. Now, when this movie was set, apparently there were only 3 channels on TV because that's what he says.
Yeah,
right. There's 3. So it's playing on the second, and then they take that one down, and then it flips to the 3rd channel. And that commercial's still playing, and he goes, Tom Atkins goes, "We're out of time. We're out of time. You have to pull this commercial down. Stop it." And the commercial gets louder, and it's not coming down, and he keeps yelling, "Stop, faster!" And he keeps going, "Stop it, and it cuts out, and that's the end of the movie, right? So I love the way that played out,
Me too.
and I love that he was shouting "Stop it" at the world's most annoying TV commercial because I felt like that was a great meta. Because by the time that commercial played at the end, I was shouting "Stop it."
Yeah.
along with Tom Atkins. So you don't know whether they actually pull it down in time. I think it's left sort of hanging.
Yeah.
It feels kind of apocalyptic.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely feel like a bunch of kids died.
He's going the day after that he is 2 children down.
Yeah. But good thing he probably has like several hundred illegitimate kids based on his appetites.
Those 2 we saw at the beginning were clearly disposable.
Yeah.
That's why he got the shit mask.
Yeah, but I mean, they might all be screwed because if like only 1/3 of the children population of America got by that commercial, then you're dealing with like millions of snakes and spiders.
Well, here's the thing: is this is how stupid the fucking company was. The one lady didn't even have a mask, and she got. So why the fuck did they have to put it on all the masks? Why wouldn't you just put the chips, like hide them in trees and parks?
Yeah, you don't even
in people's houses, and then just fucking throw a fucking boombox in there and play the song.
Just zap them with
zap them like that. You
Yeah.
could have cut that company could have cut so many corners with mass production.
Agreed.
Mass production.
Look, it's an Irish company. They were drunk when they came up with this plan.
Stick them in potatoes.
They don't know.
They would have got
It's
more
fine.
people.
So I'm Irish. I can say these things. So okay. So this is. I mean, I'm sorry. I actually, while we were walking through the plot, I left out one of the best moments of the movie that you guys talked about. So talk about it for a second, because the Halloween montage earlier in the movie, when we cut to all the different cities celebrating Halloween, is one of the best moments of the movie.
I thought the last shot of the one in Phoenix, which I actually think looks a lot like the cover of the poster of the film.
Yeah, which I love.
It was so fucking cool. It reminded me of that whole sequence. Like, feels like it could be a few frames if they ever did like a live action like Halloween tree.
Totally.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, that I love it.
Yeah, it was great. And then I thought the sequence that was shot in Los Angeles when the kids are marching in the dusk and they're just like silhouettes, it looked really druid-esque to me.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it really fit with what this movie was trying to do.
Yeah,
I think that whole sequence was... And I was telling Nick, I wish I could give credit, but I don't remember where I read it. But I read some review of this movie where the guy had said that Halloween, the holiday, hasn't been treated as lovingly in a horror movie as it was in Halloween 3 until Trick or Treat 2007. And I was trying to think of movies where they incorporated Halloween, the holiday, in between, in that gap, and nothing really came to mind. Nick pointed out Halloween 5, same franchise, right? So there's some autumnal feel there.
Yeah.
But this movie really did the Halloween, the holiday, right.
Yeah.
And that montage was a big part of it.
Nightmare Before Christmas. Checkmate, assholes.
Is that before 2007? Must be, right?
Yeah, it's like 91 or something like that.
Okay, well, there you go.
94?
But it's not
No,
like a
that's
live
fair,
action.
fair enough. But the point is, not many movies do it, and this
Yeah.
movie really did it well.
And it took me like an hour to think of that one. so that article is completely right.
So that's the Halloween 3. What do we think of?
That's Halloween 3. So now,
what do we think of the bigger issues of this movie?
I mean, I could see where like clearly there's like writing issues because like the actors, I thought like Tom Atkins was great, Stacey Nielkin.
Yep.
I like she was great. Like Roger Ebert said, everyone was great. The villain was cheesy villain, fine with me.
No, he was really good. I actually even like the like I said, I love the first nurse that was who was the first one to be scared. I liked his like investigative assistant, the one who gets killed by the drill.
Yeah.
She had a great personality, and she stole like every scene she was in, I thought she was really good. I thought the acting was strong.
Yeah. She did spend almost all of her screen time looking at a dustpan. Figuring out
But that was giving you a clue about the movie, which was cool because she kept saying, "I can't find any bones or teeth, or there's nothing in this dustpan."
No, I did like her a lot. Though. It was
Alex, what about the score?
I mean, I love the score. It did get a little tedious at the beginning. After, pretty much during the entire opening chase scene, it was kind of like that same, like, I don't know how to explain it, the same rhythmic, like, for about 3 minutes straight, and it like kind of made my palms sweaty to the point where I'm just like, but I feel like that was kind of fitting for the movie.
Right, sort of what they were going for.
It was cool, but just aggravating enough to get on my nerves, which is how I feel about Halloween 3.
Yeah.
But I still like it.
That's a good summary of the.
But it's an interesting thing because with John Carpenter, since he is involved in the screenwriting for this one, how like Halloween 1 and Halloween 2, they're kind of smaller scale movies. It's about one guy trying to kill his sister, essentially.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done other movies like Assault on Precinct 13 or Big Trouble in Little China or Escape from New York, and they're like these kind of like grand ideas. So it was interesting to see him try to do something on a grand scale for a Halloween movie.
I feel like he did that more than we thought about. Like when you think about Prince of Darkness or In the Mouth of Madness, they're all kind of like big idea, grand scope. They're not stripped down like
exactly like Halloween 1 and 2, which I think works. It's like kind of like Tommy Lee Wallace said, the thing that kind of cursed the movie was the fact that people will relate it to Halloween 1 and Halloween 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that they twisted the tagline to the night that nobody comes home.
Oh yeah, that's pretty great. So, here's a good point. Would you guys have preferred that they continued doing an anthology, or do you kind of like that they went back?
So isn't that the current rumor with the Danny McBride and the other guys like Blumhouse Halloween remake? I
don't know.
I could have. I don't know.
From what I understand, what I just recently read is that it is a sequel to Halloween 2, which really made me bummed out because I was kind of excited for it. But then I'm like, well, like, don't do that. If you're going to make another Halloween movie, at this point, just redo it. Do something totally different. I mean, just because I feel like...
I read that it's going to get really confusing because they're basically making Halloween 3.
So,
but a Michael Myers Halloween.
So very fitting for How Low Could We Go. This is they're basically Zombie 2.
Totally.
The situation. Yeah. I wish I really would like. I like the idea of an anthology where you take an iconic slasher and he's just like a very minor like background person, or not very minor, but like he's just in the background that you see a little bit. Like, to me, that'd be so fun.
Right. So imagine an alternate universe where this idea took off and Halloween 4 after don't exist, but we have every couple of years a John Carpenter presents, and then it's an anthology like this.
Yeah.
Do you prefer that world? Or do you prefer this world where Michael Myers came back?
Well, shit, it's working for Star Wars. Just make a Star Wars, anything in the Star Wars universe is title a Star Wars story, and I'm like, fuck yeah, Rogue One was dope. So if they did that with horror, I'd be way for it.
See, I'm really conflicted here because
too.
I love the idea of trying something new.
Yeah, because like if one fails, kind of like American Horror Story, where like if one season just sucks, you're like, well, maybe the next one won't. So like, it's hit or miss. And their idea was to get different screenwriters and different directors in for each movie. So it would be like a different feel every time.
Exactly. Right. And yeah, exactly. And I don't think we live now in the era of shared universes, but I don't think they were thinking that way then. I don't think Michael Myers had anything to do with Halloween 3, and I don't think the future ones would have had anything to do with any of the previous ones. I don't think there would have been a lot of call-outs to... I think they would have been standalone, like truly standalone.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I feel like about that, because most of the Halloween sequels, to be honest with you, suck. But they're like also great, some of them.
Yeah.
So like it's hard to imagine them not ever having been there. The thing that I feel is that I wish they had launched an anthology with not in this franchise, but launched an anthology that worked, an anthology series that worked. But this franchise could have kept going too. Does that make sense?
Like if Season of the Witch was like Tales from the Crypt length,
right? And
just somewhere very minor, flipping through the channels, you hear about the murders in Haddonfield. That would have gotten me fucking rock
just
hard.
jazzed.
Like I just would have been like, God.
Yeah,
damn
I would have. I would.
Tom Atkins hard. Let's.
No, not that. Not that hard, Alex.
I would dig.
No one is.
I would dig that compromise like issue, because I mean part of it is, to be honest with you, I see why John Carpenter didn't want to be involved for the longest time.
Yeah,
because you're probably get bored with the idea of, I mean, now we're just treated to like hundreds of teenagers getting torn up.
I mean, but look what they did. Like, so what you could do is you could take Halloween as a whole. You have the first one, Michael Myers. That's one story. You could do Season of the Witch. Somehow that ties in, same world. But then you can cut to something like Halloween 5, and there's like some weird cult shit going on in the same town.
Sure, absolutely.
But if that cult shit was like another like 40-minute something part of the Halloween franchise, it wouldn't be out of the realm. You have an immortal fucking like devil fucking guy killing people, so that it all makes sense. I feel like what you could do is if you took all the other Halloweens, condensed them, like slash them in half.
Yes.
And somehow made this like anthology thing, then it would really fucking work, and it would make half the other films not suck ass.
Totally true. All right, so last thing I want to do is I want to rank the sequels until we get to Halloween 3. So do Halloween and the sequels in order until you reach Halloween 3. Alex, go.
Oh, wait. Okay. That makes
So
sense.
the original's your favorite, obviously.
Yeah. Halloween 1, Halloween 2,
Okay.
Halloween H2O,
Okay.
Halloween 4, Halloween
Okay.
3, Halloween 5, Halloween 6, Halloween fucking Resurrection. Actually, that's not even on the list.
So Halloween 3 is your fifth on the list.
Yeah, I'd say
Okay.
5th. Yeah.
Okay. Nick?
Well, I don't remember all the Halloweens off the top of my head as
Okay.
good as our residential Halloween expert, Alex Taylor.
Which is weird. I feel guilty calling myself that. And I don't know if you guys noticed. I was kind of more silent than you guys on this episode because I am the least familiar with Halloween 3. Like I said, it wasn't part of my childhood,
fitting,
whereas
though.
the entire...
The Michael Myers saga
yeah,
was part
that
of your
was
childhood, yeah.
part of me growing up.
And you dressed up as Michael Myers and that. Yeah, for sure.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. But if I had to, I'd have to just go with the ones that I remember really enjoying. So I think Halloween 1 and 2, and then it would either I actually like 5, The Curse of Michael Myers. I know that one gets shit on.
That's 6.
It's 6.
Sorry.
No,
Sorry.
I'm glad you're here. So I'd probably go with either that one, but I also really liked the one where they made like a reality show.
That's 8.
Out of it?
That's Resurrection.
8. So I actually liked Resurrection because I watched it home sick.
Right.
But I think
Monster.
I would go 1, 2, Halloween 3. So I'd go in order.
Yeah.
And then it would go 6, and then Resurrection.
So
You're
here's
a
the,
monster.
Here's the funny thing. Nick has this theory, which he's increasingly convincing me of, that a lot of how you feel about horror is how you watch it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because Nick loves Jason X, but he has a particular scenario in which he watched it where it's super memorable. Right?
Yeah.
No, that's
So-
definitely
so-
true.
So yeah, so I think that's the thing. So here my order would be short, but I'm not going to cop out. So mine's Halloween original and then Halloween 3. This is literally my favorite sequel.
Oh.
But then I would go H2O, and then I would go Halloween 5, and then Halloween 6 producer's cut.
Oh, producer's cut. If we're throwing that in there, okay. That's pretty good.
Because Halloween 6 is pretty damn terrible, but it's because it was chopped to oblivion. If you watch the producer's
That was the
cut-
Weinstein one where they fucked it up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Dimension, when Dimension picked it up, I think.
Yeah, and it's pretty bad. But when you look at the producer's cut, there's actually some really effective, scary moments that make a lot more sense when it wasn't. Because I mean, it was just edited to shit. Because when they when they pre-screened Halloween 6, it turned out a focus group mainly consisting of 14-year-old boys didn't like it.
Oh, yeah.
So they re-edited the whole movie based on the fact that some juggalos were like whatever. So I think whatever, but I really like Halloween 5 much more than I remembered when I rewatched it last year.
I think Halloween 4 is the better of 4 and 5.
I hate Halloween 4, but I hate the fucking ending so much.
Oh, when they just blast him into oblivion?
So, maybe I have these wrong. Isn't 4 where the girl is holding the knife at the end?
Like he gets, like, she kneels down next to him after he gets shot by the police. She grabs his hand, and they kind of tease the idea of, like, some evil was transferred or something. So, yes, she does stab her stepmother.
She kills her stepmother, and then she's standing on the stairs with the knife and the clown outfit, and Donald Pleasance yells no. Tries to shoot her.
Oh,
and
that's
then,
right.
Like, whatever.
Yeah.
That is so fucking bad.
Her stepmom doesn't die, actually. She's in the next one, and she visits
Right,
her at the
yeah.
hospital.
You're right. She survives. But she survives because they changed their whole fucking mind about where this was going to go. Because she's not evil in the next movie. She's not evil in 5.
No, they were playing with the idea that it was during that moment that she has that weird, like, she gets that psychic connection with, like, Michael, which plays throughout the entire next one, which is why I think it's hokey. Because the one thing that you think is hokey about Halloween 5 is, like, the through line, or Halloween 4 is actually the through line of 5, that she has this, like, mental connection with Michael. It
is, but there's this really intense, desperate, sort of weird interchange. So one of the things I like about horror, this isn't Halloween 3, so we'll save this for later. But
that's valid.
in brief, one of the things I really like about it is the fact that I like when horror movies push the heroes into darker territory. So like think like Anthony Hopkins Van Helsing in Bram Stoker's Dracula, right?
Yeah.
So Donald Pleasance is basically badgering an emotionally wounded young girl throughout 5.
Oh yeah, he is.
He keeps
He's
going.
very-
Tell me where where Michael is. Tell me like what, and it gives like this really edgy like thing that I really believed in, like that Donald Pleasance will stop at nothing
to catch.
to catch Michael Myers, and I actually really like kind of like that part of it, but whatever, that's neither here nor there. That
makes a lot of sense though.
Yeah, the ranking of it to me is, I think 5 was like 4. I don't know. I think I might have to rewatch it just because I think I have such hostility towards how it was ended, because it was a totally Tommy Jarvis thing, and it was like totally the way Rob Zombie ended Halloween 2.
Yeah, I well that is true. But the thing I did not like about 5 is that's when they introduced the idea of like the cult. They have the bad mask. But I guess we'll talk more about this when we get to it. I love them both in their own ways, and I know that they have major issues.
So Halloween 3 is pretty high up on most of our lists, except for the monster across from me.
I would guess. That's weird because the closest thing is the computer, which would technically be Alex.
True.
So
exactly.
he's a
Am
monster.
I the monster?
I think you are. I would also like to point out that I think Halloween 3 has technically has the highest kill count.
Oh, for sure.
I
mean,
yeah.
If you count all the henchmen.
Yeah, and if you count,
and all of the children,
all of the show, like nobody comes home.
What horror film kills more children?
Yeah, exactly. And Alfred Hitchcock, that was a bridge too far for him. He said he would do anything in a horror movie but kill a child. And this movie was like, "Fuck you, Alfred Hitchcock. We'll kill all.
We'll
of the
kill as
children."
many as we can. We won't stop until
exactly.
We'll make up for your graciousness.
This is like biblical level of killing of children. So like, yeah, it's a pretty intense. I really like this movie. I think it holds up strangely well, and I think even though it wasn't done any favors by. I mean, the way to end this is really what you were saying about what Tommy Lee said the whole time. It never wouldn't have gotten made if it hadn't been called Halloween, but that's the most problematic thing about it.
Yep, and I like it. I think everyone else likes it. It's earned its place as a cult classic.
Everyone else doesn't like it. Check our Facebook.
And that's where it is.
All right,
so
that's Halloween 3. I'm looking forward to doing the rest of the Halloweens with our resident Halloween expert.
I can't wait till we get to Resurrection. Maybe that'll be a standalone episode where we watch it forward to back.
Me too. When I can.
Yeah, and we're starting to get really good guests on our shows. Maybe we can get Busta Rhymes.
Oh boy. Oh.
We'll film it just like a reality show.
We'll try to nail it down. Cool.
Easy. All right. Well, until
he's
next
not
time.
up to anything.
Stay scary. Watch a bunch of horror films.
I can assume.
Bye.